Uncle Luke had Jay-Z on the couch and he had the girls off there freaking off while he was watching and everything. Jay couldn't take his eye off the girls.
They thought he was just another name on a list. But what if Jay-Z wasn't just present at Epstein's island?
Epstein was a CIA Mossad asset that was recruited and was doing a blackmail operation.
What if he wasn't just standing in the shadows watching?
To December of 2018. Now he's ordering 6 55-gallon drums. He's tripled the amount of sulfuric acid.
What if Jay-Z was the one ordering the chemicals used to cover up evidence? What if his hands are just as red as Epstein's? Because Joe Rogan just connected dots that the FBI has been desperately trying to keep buried. And once you see what we're about to show you, you'll never look at Jay-Z the same way again. The latest release of the Epstein files didn't just shock the internet. It sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. We're talking about 3 million documents, thousands of photographs, and hundreds of hours of video recordings that the FBI has been sitting on for years.
The latest tranche of Epstein files from the Department of Justice contains around 3 million documents, thousands of still photographs, and hundreds of hours of video recordings.
And buried deep in those files, Jay-Z's name. Not once, not twice, multiple times. But here's where it gets disturbing. According to anonymous tips that resurfaced after federal investigators reviewed old reports, a caller made claims involving Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein going all the way back to the 1990s. Now, the mainstream narrative wants you to believe Jay-Z was just another celebrity who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe he attended a party. Maybe he shook hands with Epstein at some charity event. That's what they want you to think. But Joe Rogan isn't buying it, and neither should you. Here's what nobody's connecting. When Joe Rogan sat down to discuss the Epstein operation, he didn't just talk about the island. He didn't just talk about the blackmail. He talked about logistics. He talked about management. He talked about how an operation this massive, this controlled, this protected needed more than just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Epstein was a CIA Mossad asset that was recruited and was doing a blackmail operation. I think that's crystal clear, no question about it.
Rogan laid it out plain and simple. Epstein wasn't working alone. He was an intelligence asset, a handler, someone who gathered blackmail material on powerful people for foreign governments. But even intelligence operations need ground support. They need people who can move resources, arrange logistics, and most importantly, dispose of evidence. That's where Jay-Z comes in. According to what's emerging from deep dives into the Epstein files, Jay-Z wasn't just a visitor to the island. He wasn't just someone who got caught in a photograph. Multiple sources are now pointing to something far more sinister. Jay-Z was involved in the management of the operation itself.
Told y'all a lot of stories. I told y'all about Jay-Z, how he was, and it ain't no alleged. It ain't no alleged. These little girls was from our block.
Gene Deal, who's been in the industry for decades and has seen things that would make your stomach turn, has been screaming about this for years. He's been telling anyone who would listen that Jay-Z has a pattern, a history. And now, with the Epstein files confirming what insiders already knew, it's all starting to make horrifying sense. Now here's where things get truly disturbing. And this is the part that Joe Rogan zeroed in on when discussing how operations like Epstein's actually function day to day. Buried in the Epstein file documents, which by the way took forensic psychologist Dr. G hours to analyze, are procurement records, purchase orders, shipment logs, and one item keeps appearing over and over: massive quantities of sulfuric acid.
Right here, this is an order for 2 drums, 55 gallons per drum of sulfuric acid. This was on February 8th of 2017.
Now, sulfuric acid has legitimate uses. You can use it to desalinate water. You can use it to adjust pH levels in pools. That's what the mainstream media will tell you when they try to explain away these orders. But here's what they won't tell you.
So 1.5 years later, which I guess is when they would probably run out, so now he's ordering 6 55-gallon drums. He's tripled the amount of sulfuric acid.
December 2018, right when new accusations against Epstein were emerging, right when federal investigators were starting to circle, Epstein tripled his order of sulfuric acid from 2 55-gallon drums to 6. Why would someone suddenly need 3 times the amount of a chemical that can dissolve organic matter, that can destroy DNA evidence, that can make bodies and biological material disappear without a trace? And here's the million-dollar question that Joe Rogan Rogan posed. Who was arranging these shipments? Who had the connections to make sure these drums arrived quietly without raising red flags? Who had the resources and the power to coordinate logistics for an intelligence blackmail operation? The evidence points to Jay-Z. Multiple sources are now claiming that Jay-Z wasn't just present on the island. He was the procurement manager, the fixer, the one who made sure Epstein had everything he needed to keep his operation running smoothly and to dispose of evidence when necessary.
You take people like Jay-Z and Pusha T, they made their living killing our people, so how the fuck they gonna stand up? You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, I think they'd go to jail.
Kanye tried to warn us. For years, he's been screaming that Jay-Z is involved in things that would send him to prison if the truth came out, and everyone dismissed him as crazy. Everyone said he was having a breakdown, but Kanye wasn't crazy. He was ahead of the curve. Let's talk about what we were initially told. When Jay-Z's name first appeared in the Epstein files, the story was carefully controlled. The narrative was managed. Handler, that's the word they kept using. Like Jay-Z was just there to watch, like he was just another participant. But Joe Rogan asked the question nobody else wanted to ask. What does a handler actually do in an operation like this? In intelligence circles, a handler isn't just a spectator. A handler manages assets. A handler coordinates operations. A handler makes sure everything runs according to plan. And if Jay-Z was functioning as a handler in Epstein's blackmail operation, that means he wasn't just watching, he was orchestrating.
And she was a kid at that time, correct?
A 15-year-old girl who had been flown to the United States without parental supervision or a chaperone, brought to a grown man's office in a large corporate Manhattan building.
Jaguar Wright has been documenting Jay-Z's pattern for years. She was there when Rihanna was flown into the country as a minor. She watched how Jay-Z operated, how he isolated young girls from their families, how he controlled their careers and their lives.
At 15, 16, 17 years old. She was running all around Philadelphia because Jay-Z promised her that they could be, normal when she wasn't with Corrupt. Corrupt was her fake boyfriend, which is why when they tried to use her to say that she was actually in the car and there with Keepy D and all of that, I'm like, that girl wasn't even there. These women are pawns. Inga Marchand at 14 years old, 14 and a half, going on 15 years old, singing highly explicit charged, lyrics all written by Sean Carter. What kind of...
This is someone who knows how to manipulate minors, someone who's been doing it for decades, someone whose entire career has been built on exploiting young girls and silencing anyone who tries to speak out. And when you look at it through that lens, suddenly his role in the Epstein operation makes perfect sense. Here's what forensic analysis of the Epstein files reveals. And this is where Dr. G's breakdown becomes absolutely critical. Epstein had a system for disposing of evidence. Hidden cameras disguised as everyday objects, motion sensors, tiny recording devices the size of a thumbnail drive.
Jeffrey, I already purchased 2 of the motion sensor cameras from the spy store in Fort Lauderdale yesterday. I charged them last night and figuring out how to work them as we speak. It's amazing how small they are, the size of a thumbnail drive, 64-hour recording, motion sensor.
He was recording everything, every encounter, every compromise, every moment that could be used for blackmail. But recordings aren't the only evidence that needs to be managed. There's DNA, there's biological material, there's physical evidence. That's where the sulfuric acid comes in.
There is a wide variety of awful uses.
And here's the part that makes your blood run cold. According to what Joe Rogan has been piecing together from multiple sources, Jay-Z had the connections to arrange these chemical shipments through his business networks. He had the resources to move large quantities of industrial chemicals without raising suspicion. He had the motivation because his own secrets were just as dark as Epstein's. Think about it. A man with Jay-Z's wealth and power doesn't just casually hang around a known predator. He doesn't just happen to be in rooms with drugged victims. He's there because he's involved. And if he's involved in the operation, he needs to be involved in the cleanup. Now let's talk about something that connects everything together. The forged Austrian passport that Epstein kept in his safe.
This is a forged passport by Jeffrey Epstein. He calls himself Marius Robert Fortelny, and he says that he is from Saudi Arabia on this.
Epstein was traveling under false identities. He had multiple passports. He had escape routes planned to Saudi Arabia. And when the FBI searched their own database for the alias he was using, they got a response that should terrify everyone.
If you look below that, it says restricted, access denied. So
Restricted access denied. That means the operation Epstein was running was protected at the highest levels of government. It means there were intelligence connections that went far beyond what the public has been told. Joe Rogan has been talking about this for weeks, how Epstein was clearly working for Mossad, how the CIA knew exactly what he was doing, how this was never just about one billionaire's twisted desires. It was a systematic blackmail operation designed to compromise powerful people.
Mossad is like the sister of the CIA. They're joined at the hip, kind of like Siamese twins, and they use each other for intel and operations and things like that. They are extremely close and in an extremely sensitive relationship. Oh, yeah.
And it totally explains what Epstein was doing.
And if Jay-Z was involved in managing the logistics of this operation, if he was the one coordinating shipments, arranging resources, and helping dispose of evidence, then he wasn't just a participant. He was a co-conspirator in an intelligence blackmail operation. His hands aren't just dirty, they're soaked in blood. Here's what should disturb you the most. After the Shade Room posted about Jay-Z being in the Epstein files, they took the post down within minutes.
What's really crazy is that the Shade Room just posted this and then immediately took it down. It's no longer on their page.
Someone made a phone call. Someone with enough power to silence one of the biggest gossip platforms on the internet, and that post disappeared like it never existed. 50 Cent isn't backing down though. He's planning a full documentary on Jay-Z, just like he did with Diddy.
Damn, they got Jay-Z on the Epstein list.
But here's what's really telling. When Gene Deal talks about the people who are most dangerous in this situation, he's not talking about the ones whose names are already public.
I'm probably more afraid of the people we don't know about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The people you don't know about, the people who know that they may be on any kind of list that is.
The people who are purposely trying to get that list to stay away or not be on that list. That's who scares me.
The people who are actively working to keep their names redacted. The people who have the power to make evidence disappear. The people who can order sulfuric acid in quantities large enough to destroy anything that could incriminate them. People like Jay-Z. Let's talk about Beyonce for a second, because this isn't just about Jay-Z anymore.
Beyonce was on that island where they was kids.
Damn!
Yep. Beyonce was on Pedo Island. Beyonce and the camel.
Multiple people are now saying Beyonce knew that she was there, that she participated in rituals. MIA came forward claiming that after she signed with Roc Nation, Jay-Z and Beyonce pressured her to undergo plastic surgery and participate in what she described as satanic rituals.
Oh, I didn't want to drip myself in blood and cover myself in swimming goop, in black goop, and fucking like wear devil horns to fucking sell a record. Fuck that.
This isn't just about one man's crimes anymore. This is about an entire power structure built on exploitation, blackmail, and violence. And Jay-Z sits at the very top of that structure. Gene Deal has been saying for years that Jay-Z was dating Beyonce when she was underage, that the timeline they present publicly doesn't match what people in the industry actually witnessed.
First started dating Beyonce at 17, 18, he was 30-something. You didn't know his age. When I look back and see how old Jay-Z was, I think Jay-Z was born in like 69 or 67, something like that, 67 right there, 69. I think he was born in 69. Beyonce, they said she was born in 81. You understand? But back then, in 81, when we was in the club together, 98, 99, she wasn't even supposed to be in the club, but she was in the club. It was Club Eugene's, and Jay was dating her. And at that time, if you look at Jay's age, he was about 30 years old.
A 30-year-old man dating a 17-year-old girl. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like someone who respects boundaries? Does that sound like someone who would draw the line at helping Epstein manage a blackmail operation? Here's where things get interesting from a legal standpoint. President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law, and that law is very specific about what can and cannot be redacted.
No record shall be withheld, delayed, or redacted on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary.
You can't redact someone's name just because it would embarrass them. You can only redact names if they're victims or if revealing them would jeopardize an active investigation. But here's the catch. The FBI has repeatedly stated there was no blackmail scheme. They've said victims don't exist beyond the girls on the island.
Only legitimate explanation that is in line with the law for redacting these people is if they were provably victims of blackmail from Jeffrey Epstein. And that goes against what they've said.
So if names are still redacted, and Jay-Z's name is one of them in certain documents, the FBI will have to explain why. And their only legitimate legal explanation would be to admit that yes, there was a massive blackmail operation, that yes, people were compromised, that yes, this went far deeper than they've ever publicly acknowledged. And if Jay-Z's name is being protected under those redactions, it means one of two things. Either he was a victim of blackmail himself, or he's so deeply connected to the operation that exposing him would unravel the entire intelligence network that Epstein was operating. Joe Rogan's been saying it for months. This goes all the way to the top. And Jay-Z isn't just connected to it, he's one of the architects. Let's put all the pieces together, because when you step back and look at the full picture, it's impossible to deny. Jay-Z has a documented history of inappropriate relationships with minors. Rihanna, Foxy Brown, Ingrid Moran, multiple young girls whose careers he controlled and whose lives he manipulated.
Kind of 27-year-old grown man turns a 14, 15-year-old girl virtually into a prostitute and gave her the nickname the Il Nana.
He was close personal friends with Diddy, who's now facing federal charges for decades of abuse. He worked with R. Kelly after everyone knew what R. Kelly had done to Aaliyah.
Why would you still do a project with that man knowing that he f***ing Aaliyah? That should be the question. Period. It shouldn't be for me.
His name appears in the Epstein files not once, but multiple times in contexts that suggest he was far more involved than just being an innocent bystander. And now we have procurement records showing massive increases in sulfuric acid orders right when Epstein's legal troubles were escalating, chemicals that multiple sources claim Jay-Z helped arrange. This isn't coincidence. This is a pattern of predatory behavior, a pattern of covering up crimes, a pattern of operating with complete impunity because he has the power, the money, and the connections to make problems disappear, literally and chemically disappear.
I had 3 victims that I've been working with, victims of the Carters, that were ready to come forward. This might help them feel a little more confident now.
Jaguar Wright said something that should echo in everyone's mind right now. There are victims, real people whose lives were destroyed, real girls who were trafficked, exploited, and silenced. And the man who helped facilitate that, who helped manage that operation, is still walking free. He's still performing at Super Bowls. He's still being celebrated as a business mogul. He's still being protected by an entire industry that profits from keeping these secrets buried.
Hey, did he go down? We seen R. Kelly. Why does Jay-Z keep slipping through the cracks? That's the guy I'm waiting for. You're sending everybody to jail but Jay-Z, the damn ringleader.
Joe Rogan exposed the truth that mainstream media won't touch. Jay-Z wasn't just present at Epstein's island. He wasn't just a handler watching from the sidelines. He was involved in management. He was coordinating logistics. He was arranging the chemicals needed to destroy evidence. His hands are red, and the FBI knows it. The only question now is whether anyone will have the courage to hold him accountable, or whether he'll continue to operate with the same impunity that's allowed him to destroy lives for decades.
Just mark my words, as I'm Kanye West, you've seen my execution. I'm 10 years ahead mentally, and I'm trapped in today's time. And
Kanye tried to warn us. Joe Rogan is connecting the dots, and the evidence is sitting in 3 million pages of FBI documents that they're desperately trying to keep from the public. The truth is coming, and when it does, Jay-Z's carefully constructed empire is going to crumble like dust. What do you think? Was Jay-Z really managing the procurement of evidence disposal chemicals for Epstein? Are his hands as bloody as the files suggest? Let us know in the comments below.